The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Woman of Prominence and 4 Point Media presents The Culture of Music and Film. I am Von True today, standing in for Makita. I also have two amazing co-hosts. We have D Nice over here, and we also have Pastor Michael Barrett with us today. Also, we have a couple amazing guests, including his lovely wife, Lakeisha Barrett. Hi, Lakeisha.
Hi, how are you?
I am amazing. How are you, love?
I'm great. I won't complain. Amazing.
Yes. So you come to us today, beautiful couple, first off, let me say that. Yes, absolutely. Beautiful children as well.
Thank you.
And you come to us today with an amazing new single that you just released.
Yes, my single is called For Me. It has been released on iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, Google Play, so all the media, social media outlets. So I'm excited. Go buy it. Go buy it.
Beautiful.
Go buy it.
Yes.
Don't get it for free. Go buy it.
It's $1.
Forget the download, huh?
Yeah,
That's right.
yes.
That's right.
What is it about?
So For Me is it's pretty much my life anthem, saying what God has for me is for me. Anyone's anthem, for that matter. It's a story. It starts off, talking about the things that we've gone through, and then in the end, it's thanking God for the things that we have gone through, and just saying, God, I realize throughout all that I've been through, at the end of the day, what you have for me is for me.
That's right.
Beautiful.
And it also features my beautiful daughter, Kamora, who is over there, and she'll join us a little later to do her part when we perform. So I'm excited to, just be able to teach my children along the way that as we are always telling our children, you can do anything that you put your mind to, but also learning how to, yes, things are obtainable, but you do have to stay in your lane and, take things one at a time and not like try to do a bunch of things at one time.
Absolutely.
So.
What is an experience that encouraged you to create this?
My life.
Everything. And there's not one single, just like entirely.
In 93, when I first moved to Los Angeles, because I'm originally from Kansas City, Missouri, I got in a car February the 15th, me and my cousin Robert Jr., and we drove to L.A. And at the time, I had back then they had demo deals and all that kind of stuff. And I had a demo deal with Jive Records. And I was pursuing a secular career. And I did that my 20s. I actually, in 2001, I was in Atlanta and I worked with all of the Dungeon family. And I completed an entire album that I never got one copy of. And the deal was I signed a management contract. And so with the management contract, because of the producers I'd worked with and, all the different things. I did the writing, so I owned the writing, but they owned the publishing. And the deal did not go right. It was one of those 360 contracts. And I was informed by my legal team, do not sign that contract. So the contract that I signed as a management contract said that if I don't sign the publishing or production deal, then I don't get a copy of my album and I don't owe them anything. And I know that in their cockiness, they never imagined me not signing that production deal because I did have a lawyer, ace in the hole, that I never told them about. And when they gave me the contract, we were in the Bahamas. I faxed it over to the States and let my attorney look at it. And when it came back, it had all this red on it, like, don't do this and don't do that.
Right.
I was devastated. And late 20s by that time, I was like determined that I'm going to do it anyway.
Right.
And luckily I had my mother with me, and, you know, I prayed, my mom and my dad, we were all in the Bahamas, and I was boo-hoo crying because I had worked blood, sweat, and tears. And the Lord just said, not now. And I'm thinking, not now. Okay, well, not now, never. Cause and so fast forward, a couple of years ago, I was, my husband said, let's go into the studio. We're in the car. He said, I said, where are we going? We're going to the studio. I was like, you know I don't sing anymore. He was like, you used to didn't sing anymore. So he took me in the studio, and New Year's Eve, we all went into the studio and recorded a single that my husband and I did called Surrender for his life story. And I just got that bug back, and then I heard God say now. And I'm like, really? Like, you know how old I am?
Beautiful.
But that's when he said, you know what I got for you is for you, and you're going to do it. But this time, you're going to do it for me and not for the secular world.
That's right.
Absolutely. So, that's an
for
amazing story. Yes. That just started my heart, and I just want to jump into it now. I just want to hear it all.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's serve that up.
Let's serve that up.
Yes,
all right, come here, Kamora.
All right, the babes will lead us. Isn't that the Bible says?
Yes.
Say hi.
Hi.
Hey.
What's your name?
Hi, pretty.
Kamora what?
Free.
All right.
All right, we're ready for you.
Ready? All right.
Nice.
Okay, let's listen to this one.
Listen.
Don't let nobody knock your grind or steal your shine. If God gave you a gift or a talent, you better go after it. That's all I'm saying. I must admit I messed up about 1,000 times, or maybe even more. But yet you chose to save me, even forgave me. 'Cause that's the kind of father you are. You made death go away and behave. And Lord, I want to thank you, forever praise you. 'Cause now I am sure what you got for me is for me. I'ma tell it, yeah. What you got for me is for me. And I don't really care what them people say. What you got for me is for me. Wow. What you got for me is for me. Everything I've been through, Lord, I owe it all to you. The good and the bad. Your grace and your mercy has truly changed me. And now I am free. You take my dark nights, you turned them into light. Now I'm like a little butterfly. I can fly, and you're the reason why. 'Cause what you got for me is from me. Tell it. What you got for me is for me. And everywhere I go and all the people I meet. What you got for me is for me. When they look at me, all they will see, God did it. What you got for me is for me.
Mommy, is it true I can be anything in this world that I want to be?
That's right, baby. And don't ever let nobody tell you nothing different.
Okay, Mommy. I love you. I love you.
I love you too, baby.
I love you too, Kamora. 'Cause I've been there and I've done that, and I know that without a fact, your love and your mercy is all that I'll ever need. And I've done that, and I know that without a fact, your love and your mercy. What you got for me is for me. It's mine, it's all mine. What you got for me is for me. I gotta tell it, yes, I gotta tell it. What you got for me is for me. What you got for you is for you. What you got for me is for me. Like what I got for me is for me. Nothing's too hard for my God. You gotta just trust and believe. It's mine, it's all mine.
Amen.
Yeah, I'm glad he gave that to you. That
Beautiful.
Thank you.
That was great. That was great. You know what? We go back a few years when you came into the studio and you had just finished a movie
Yes.
that you guys were dropping.
Yes.
And you brought a single over that we played there too.
Yeah.
And I was excited to hear that one there. But this one here takes a whole different level.
Yeah.
It's years later. You guys are still in the game.
Yes, sir.
The movie's out there doing some things. You're doing some things. And so the next few couple of seconds, man, tell us about the projects you're doing now. And he said, I know that you got something coming on for the women, so we want to talk about all that right quick in a few minutes. Go ahead. And you're getting installed too, Pastor.
Yes.
Okay.
On this Sunday, September 29th at 3 o'clock at Love and Unity Christian Fellowship, I will be installed as pastor of Do Right Christian Church,
Do Right.
9815 South Vermont. Okay. Do Right. And our catchphrase is, the word will make you do right.
Wow.
Amen. Glory.
You know, so we're just in a season where we're just thankful to God.
Yes.
Because it is the perseverance, you know, in spite of the trials and the tribulations. You know, a lot of times we throw in the towel and be like, my wife could have said 20 years ago, because the deal didn't go through, you know what, I'm done. God abandoned me. He ain't make this happen. But he shut it down just for a season because he had another season in store for her. And it's a difference when you do it for him, you know. And so I just thank God that we're in this season, not doing it for us, but doing it for him. And that's where the excitement for me comes. So whatever comes with that, as long as we're doing it for him, I'm good.
I love it. And First Lady, you got something going on. This is coming up, right?
Yes. My first annual Women's Luncheon is this Saturday, September the 28th. Go on Eventbrite, and it's called I Am More Than a Trophy, and it's at 5400 Maytime Lane from noon to 5. So if you don't go on Eventbrite, just show up and we'll get your tickets there. But you do want to come out. Women, we're more than a trophy. Men, treat your wife, treat your mother, your daughter, treat someone, or just sponsor someone who's not able to make it. I'm actually sponsoring a women's shelter.
Beautiful.
I found out there was a one of our members worked at a women's shelter, and I invited her, and she said she had to work. She's like, well, I have to women. I said, you know what? I'm going to sponsor a table, so bring the women. And so I'm sponsoring 8 women to come out, and just, you know, I have some vendors, so we're going to give them makeovers. They don't know, but I'm going to choose them to be the ones to get makeovers and, you know, just get pampered for the day. So that's what God is, you know, it's all about, just being able to, I want to be able to encourage the women to encourage each other. I don't think we do that enough.
Yes.
Right. That's true.
And that's 5400 Culver City, Maytime Lane.
Yeah, it's in Culver City. 5400 Maytime Lane. It's in Culver City. And so you can go on eventbrite.com, or you can find me at Lakeisha Rambo Barrett on Facebook, or you can go to LABR1ministries.com.
And what I like about it is you brought your daughter in on it. This is our future.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm glad that you're on the right track, doing the right thing.
And my oldest daughter, Lakia, will be one of the speakers on Saturday, speaking about being an overcomer. She's a brain tumor survivor, so she's going to talk about being an overcomer, how being a brain tumor survivor and a high schooler, and how she's just overcoming these last 11 years. She had a brain tumor and a full-blown stroke at the age of 4.
Wow.
Now she's 16 in 11th grade, and she wanted to be a motivational speaker, so I'm going to put her up there and let's see what she's working with.
Go ahead.
See, she's full of knowledge over there. Yes.
Yeah, we're going to give you a captured audience, because I'm a part of Toastmasters, which is a worldwide organization. I also teach trainers, and I am a 3-time DTM.
Okay.
Only 1% of the whole world gets the first one. I've got 3 of them, so I'm an underachiever.
Yes, sir.
As you can tell, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
But whatever I put my hand into, it says do all to the glory of God.
Yes.
And so I'm all about people learning to get their voice and being able to put it out there, because there are women listening right now that need to follow somebody that's walking the walk and not just talking. And for the young men now, they're listening to somebody like you, Pastor, because you're young yourself and you're talking to the youth in here, because if we lose them, man, we lost it all. Like this young lady here is millennial, and she's got to show that she's she's doing also, and she's also got a television show that deals with millennials. And we've got to bring our millennials. And do you know what? In the next 5 years, they say the millennials will be running this country. And so what's behind the millennials? The X, Y's, and Z's and everything behind that. So the millennials is going to be in a pivotal stage to help us get over or sink the whole ship. So we've got to really show them the way as OGs, old school. Amen. So I appreciate, Pastor, you coming in and doing what you're doing it the right way. And sister, I appreciate you. Like I said, when the God puts it together, man, it's going to flow.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate you guys coming in. And we're going to send Vaughn out there to, hook up with y'all and enjoy it.
Yeah, she's definitely coming, and we're excited about having her. And listen, ladies, if you're out there, now don't everybody, but if you're out there and you want to come and you can't afford to come. We got you. Don't let the money stop you, because each one teach one, and God is blessing us regardless. We do want the ones to come to pay, but if it's somebody out there who can't afford it, don't let that be your reason for not. Inbox me on my Facebook, and I'll make sure that you're in there.
Especially if you're encouraged by her powerful message. You know, it's such a powerful message. We definitely need to encourage each other and lift each other up to our highest light. Absolutely.
And guys, I'm just saying, what you do for Christ will last. Right. So for those out there trying to scheme, we're telling you, if you can afford to get the tickets, man, get the tickets. Amen. She's talking about the people that need to get blessed, but you know who you are. That's those guys that can afford to get in their pocket. Now do that. And, you know what I'm saying, give God what is his, okay? Amen. And we thank you guys for showing up and showing out, man. Appreciate you. And like I said, we're going to do a follow-up also after the event. And Pastor, once you're in there fully loaded, all right. Yes. Then we want to get you in your, the pastor that installed you, because like I said, he shed the light and walked away for you to say, I want to do this. Amen. You know what I'm saying? So, no, we're just going to follow up and keep you guys in prayer. So, appreciate you guys for coming down, and thank you for joining us.
Yes, congratulations as well to both of you.
Thank you.
Great
so
successes.
Much.
Yes.
Thank you. God bless you.
All right, guys, we're out. What do you think?
Yes.
That was good?
Yeah, amazing, right?
So, we will be right back right after this. You're watching Women of Prominence, and 4 Point Media presents.
Listen, don't let nobody knock your grind or steal your shine. If God gave you a gift or a talent, you better go after it. That's all I'm saying. Maybe even more. You may just go. What you got for me is for me. 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 Everything I've been through, mercy changed me. I can fly. What you got for me is for me. What you got for me is for me. What you got for me is for me. What you got for me is for me.
Mommy, is it true that I can be anything in this world that I want to be?
That's right, baby, and don't ever let nobody tell you nothing different.
Okay, Mommy. I love you.
I love you too, baby. I've been there, I've done that, and I know that without that, your love and your mercy is all that I'll ever need. What you got for me is for me. What you got for me is for me. What you got for me is for me.
Women of Prominence and 4 Point Media presents the culture of music and film. Thank you, Pastor, for continuing to join with us. And now bringing on Miss Rhonda, also our lovely host for today. How are you, Miss Rhonda?
I'm good, and you?
I'm great, thank you. And she has brought along a lovely treat for us. Please let us know more.
Yes, this is Ade. You can pronounce the rest of your name because I have a little trouble with it.
Yeah, my full name is Ade Tokumbo Mukomak.
Thank you.
Ade for short.
Ade for short. There, that's what I
right.
call him. So he has a wonderful film called The German King that we're going to be talking about. It's actually a biopic or like a real true life story. Many people in Europe may know the story, but a lot of people here in the United States don't know the story. And I think it's really good. I always like when I see films like this that educate on the history because, you know, they say we're doomed to repeat history if we don't take the lessons and if we don't really know what happened. And now we're just starting to get a little bit more information about a lot of different things. And we don't really know a lot about African history, which is our history because that's where we came from. But we need to know more about other cultures, the world as a whole and how it all fits in together. So I think that's why I really appreciate the film, and I know that it's a short film now, but he's wanting to make it into a feature-length film.
Yeah.
Interesting. Can we understand a bit more background about the film?
Well, the film's about King Rudolf Douala Manga Bell. He was a Cameroonian prince who was raised in Germany, and upon his father's death, he returns to Cameroon in West Africa to become king. However, once he comes back to Africa, he sees that his people are being oppressed, and subjugated, and enslaved, and killed under tyrannical colonial rule by Kaiser Wilhelm II. And so he decides to rise up and lead his people in rebellion against colonialism.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And the reason I found out about it is so interesting is, you know, how they say there's 360 degrees of separation. My great uncle is married to one of the royal family of the Cameroon. Yes, her name is Leopoldine Douala Manga Bell.
Yeah. And she came to our screening at LA Shorts, and it was the greatest honor to have her in the audience and then come up to us and compliment us on the film and say how, you know, it basically resonated with her and it was how it happened.
Yes, I was sitting next to her. She was so excited. Just so excited to have her family honored and to have the story told because, you know, it was just, she's told us the story before, but to have someone else to recognize it and to really put it out there in the world because it is something that... one of the things that they talked about, we're just now finding about the massacre in the Congo, and that's what set it off, was that he saw, the king saw what was going on in the Congo and realized that they're neighbors, and that the Belgian king, who was a despot, and he was really slaughtering people left and right so that he could get the minerals and the all the riches of Africa. And the same thing, he said, well, it's just a matter of time before Kaiser Wilhelm, he's already starting to do this. So he's probably going to do the exact same thing, and before they just run through our country and kill everybody like they did in the Congo, we need to stop it.
Stand up and take that position. It's amazing when someone recognizes that story, like you said, and tells that story from a not only greater perspective, but what's in it. It goes out to the entire world, the entire universe, and you have something for decades that people can reminisce upon and understand and bring it back to their true being of this earth, for sure.
Absolutely. One of the things that someone had mentioned to me after they watched the film at a screening we did a couple of months ago, they said, until the lion tells the story, the tale of the hunt will always glorify the hunter.
That's right.
And it just stuck
Yes.
with me, you know, and I said it's time that we told our stories and showed what happened. And just, you know, going off what you said, you know, Leopold had killed 10 million Congolese people, and nobody talks about that genocide. No one talks about the nearly extermination of the Namanherero people in what is now called Namibia. And it's just, we have to just honor these people in their lives and ultimately the sacrifices that they made. So,
Absolutely.
Let's talk about how you got started doing film.
Oh, yeah. So I've been doing film since I was a child. I did my first movie when I was 12 years old. It was called The Great Elephant Escape, which starred Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Julian Sands and Leo Burmester and a bunch of other people. And I just remember thinking I really loved film. I loved just everything to do with it. And I realized, you know, I'm going to start taking this more seriously. I talked to my dad, and I don't know why he encouraged a 12-year-old to continue doing this, but thank you, Dad. Thanks for doing it. I love you. And it just, you know, as I continued working as an actor, I decided I wanted to tell more stories and play different characters. You know, a lot of the characters, the opportunities for Black people and Africans is very stereotypical. We tend to see us just people, you know, from poverty and disease and famine and war. And I said, I don't want to keep telling these stereotypes. I want to tell a story about a powerful and dignified and proud people and just rewrite that narrative. And I felt like I could do that as a filmmaker and then give myself and my peers better roles and more robust roles that they can play.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Definitely appreciate that for sure. I would love to jump in and see what the title of this movie is.
It's called The German King.
The German King.
Yeah.
I would love to jump in and see what The German King is all about.
Explain why it's called The German King.
It's called The German King. So a lot of people have a lot of questions about the title. Back in the day, during colonialism, it was practice for the Kaiser or the king to take maybe the firstborn son, and just take them into the palace, in this case it was in Germany, and just almost brainwash and also kind of hold them hostage to turn them into Germans, and so that when they went back to Africa, they could rule with German interests. And that's pretty much what happened with Rudolf Douala Mangabella, also happened with his son, Alexander. And there's another situation where if you now want to rise up against the colonialism, your kid's, you know, basically has been taken hostage. So it put Rudolph in a really strange situation, but ultimately he chose his people and you know, and of course his son's safety. But that's pretty much why. So the German king is really the fact that he was born. Well, he was raised in Germany and had German interests, but ultimately chose his people and chose being an African overall.
Lovely. Very interesting background. Like, I really had no idea. Like, honestly, please bring on my history lesson right now. Please. Now we're going to go ahead and jump into The German King.
Our enemies will try to make you forget who you are.
Die beiden sind beste Freunde. Genauso wie du und Rudolf in diesem Alter waren.
Guten Tag, Kaiserin.
Ein perfekter, schwarzer deutscher Prinz. Würde das dir gefallen?
Yes, sir. I serve at the pleasure of the Kaiserin.
Know that everything I did so that our people would be free.
What's the matter, Rudolf?
The Kaiser's like family. We raised as brothers to go against him.
Wilhelm is not your family. Your skin will always be the color of the rich Cameroonian soil. And they will always walk over it as if they own it.
Your family would rule under German protection. So why did you turn against us?
Your father's new ideas of independence are a cancer. I fear have infected you too.
Aber mit der Hinrichtung eines Jungen startest du einen Krieg.
Wir sind schon im Krieg.
They're inside the palace.
Feigling! Lass mich sofort frei.
Your family is here. You may talk like them, act like them, dress like them, but you will never be them. Your skin will always be the color of the rich Cameroonian soil, and they will always walk over it as if they own it. Rudolph, you do this so that your sons and your sons' sons and their sons will have a land they can call their own.
I can no longer look the other way. While you continue to enslave and exterminate my people. You moved them away from the Wari River. They can't trade. They can't feed their families. You gave them a death sentence. And somehow I believed in the Gutta to Vaterland. That all changed when I saw a picture of a young boy in one of your concentration camps. He was about to be hanged. The boy was not much younger than my son. What could possibly have been his crime? Being born black in a land you stole.
Wow.
That's good.
The power of this message.
Good.
Amazing. My heart throbbed over this. Like, seriously, I can't wait to see the full thing because I'm so interested. The content, the quality, everything about it was just, give me more. You know? And like I said before, it's things that I was not informed about. So when you see things like this, they're definitely going to hold a spot in your memory and in your heart for, you know, people who come before you who took that stand to strive for the power.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It also changes the narrative because so many times we are brainwashed into thinking that we just sat back and allowed the Europeans to take over the land and to take over the people, and that we did nothing. And that contributes to making us, a lot of people, feel bad about it and take some guilt and responsibility when in fact that's not what happened.
Yeah, there were so many people who were instrumental in bringing about radical change within Africa. And we have to, you know, when we finally do the feature-length film, which we're planning on shooting next year, we're going to go deeper into the different people who are not only in Cameroon, but in, you know, Namibia and in Tanzania, the people who said, no, enough is enough. We're going to stand up and fight in World War I. We never talk about the Africans who are fighting on the front lines in World War I. It's always the French and the British versus Germany, but so many Africans were instrumental in winning the war.
Wow.
Well, interesting, like when I studied, they talked about Germany going to Africa, but after that, they don't really talk about that. I mean, they talk about a major battle, but they make it seem like it was between the Europeans and that there was you know, a battle there that was sort of decisive that happened somewhere in North Africa where they're facing off against the Italians and, you know, Mussolini, all those, you know, different people in the Allied forces.
Yeah, but we don't really talk about, nor in my history, and in my history books or at school, we never really discussed this at all. And it took me just going on the internet and doing my own research and finding out a bunch of this information that I had no idea existed.
I think that's the thing that we miss, and even in this culture now, we've been robbed of that identity as to how powerful we were as a people.
Yes.
And I'll never forget, like about 1999, I have a friend of mine from New York, African, and he and I were talking, and I was like, based on ignorance, I said, man, you know, do y'all have buildings out there, like cars and stuff? He was like, what you think we got? Like, you know, but based on what I saw on television, it gave me a depiction of I don't never want to go because they like crazy. Right. But then the more knowledge and understanding you get, it's like, wow, civilization, construction, building, kings, queens, you see what I'm saying? But they rob you of that and they give you a savage mentality. So you grow up with beast mode, savage minded, versus, wait a minute, my great-great-great-great-great-grandfather was a king. Can you imagine what that would do to a child to say, wow, I got to set the bar here versus here. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And that was powerful. And so I learned a lot back in the 90s about the culture itself.
And one of the things I really wanted to show was we are descended from kings and queens. And
that's right.
I remember someone had mentioned who watched the film, they're like, I haven't seen anything like this since Black Panther. And I appreciated the comparison, but I also wanted to say Black Panther, it's fiction. But this is real. You did have people in their kingdoms. Right. You did have, you know, I think in the 14th century you had Mansa Musa from Mali, who was the richest man in the world. He destabilized the world economy by dropping gold bars in Europe. I mean, we never talk about people like this. Yasintewa, this female warrior, this queen from Ghana, we don't talk about her accomplishments and her power and her wealth. Queen Zinga of Angola. So I think it's just time we put these people's stories back into history books and just maybe made films about them. And that's one of the things I hope to continue doing as a filmmaker.
That's good. I think you have to use the same tool that they use. I mean, basically, it's open now for everyone. But what they did was brainwash people by telling a story the way they wanted to tell it. And now we can tell it the right way.
Exactly.
What really happened. Because that type of narrative really does damage to people.
Yes,
and we're starting to see that when we can see the real story and say, well, wait a minute, I've been lied to.
Especially when you learn it so young in social studies and fifth grade or something. It just really gets to you.
They have you growing up watching Tarzan.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well,
that's it.
There was a more recent story of Tarzan that told the backstory about the Congo and about it's sort of like this story here. What really happened was actually he was trying to fight for the fact that they were actually genociding the people in the Congo, and that was actually the Belge king that was in there during the so that story Tarzan was told one way, and it was sort of like but it actually was a different story entirely.
Absolutely, because anyone can get up and write a book from their perspective and try to sprinkle it on anybody and make it seem like it needs to be the pristine view, the number one view that needs to be understood. But I'm so glad that you are telling this story because we need to know.
It's empowering, and that's what we need is empowerment and to know that really happened. That even though Black Panther was fiction, it was based somewhat in fact, because there were women that were Amazonian women that were warriors. And as a matter of fact, even Gaddafi, the king of Libya, all of his elite guard were women.
Wow, really?
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Well, Gaddafi was totally misunderstood because that was another brainwash. He actually wanted to unify Africa.
He did,
And the reason why they killed him basically was because he wanted to unify Africa under a currency, just like the European Union had a currency. Once they take the economy and put it together, because there's a book that you need to read called How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. But it's not just that. It's here we get a lot of brainwashing. A lot of people in Europe love to come to Africa for vacation. Here we wouldn't think of it because all we remember is the kids in Somalia with the flies on their face. That is all we remember about Africa. That's all we've been shown. And then you see a movie like Mississippi Masala, the movie that was shot in Uganda, which we're told in Rwanda, and we're told that Uganda is a despot. We know about the what was the one with Forrest Whitaker or something about
the Last King of Scotland?
Yeah, the Last King of Scotland. And that shows you also all the different influences they have. But the interesting thing is it's a beautiful country.
Absolutely.
It's beautiful. So what they want to do is scare us away that they can do all their incursions into the country. And they're still doing it. A lot of military action on the United States part is taking place in Africa as we speak.
It's terrible.
You did some good acting in there.
Thank you.
That's it right there. Very good. So you acted it and it directed.
I wrote, directed, produced it, starred in it, and I also sang the closing credit song.
Wow.
Lovely.
Talk about multi-talent.
After that deserves.
Yes, and he also gave a lot of people work. And it was very, I think, I was able to speak to some of the actors and even the person who played the German Kaiser.
Yes.
He really appreciated working on that project and being able to enlighten people about what really happened.
Yes, and that was a strong position that he played, that's for sure. I want to understand, from your perspective, considering the zeitgeist of the times, why do you think this film is most prominent now?
Well, because as you can see, not really much has changed. Yes, it's a different time, but you look at oppression. You look at oppression of, let's say, the LGBTQ community, oppression of people because of their skin color, police brutality. There's still issues that affected, Rudolph Douala Mangabell 100 years ago. They're still prevalent today in today's society. And what I loved about this film was the fact that this one man said, hey, I have a voice and enough's enough and I'm going to be the voice for the voiceless. And I find that story so inspiring because how many times have you been in a situation where, you see something's wrong, but you don't speak up, you don't say anything, and this man did. And so as I was doing my research, honestly, it made me strive to be a better person. And I'm hoping that the world could now watch this film and in some way be touched and hope to be better people as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I was just going to ask, what do you want people to take away from this? Yes. So that's the greatest standpoint that needs to be kind of now and newly engraved in our minds, that we are more than what we were projected to be from an early age. And we have to deprogram and do our research to understand ourselves and grow as greater people in the world. You know, it's very prominent right now for us to rise up, especially with the great shift that's happening in social understanding. Yes, you know. So I also want to know, you said you wrote it.
I wrote it.
You sung a song.
Yes.
You act. Wow. Yeah. How did you come about all of this? Like how?
Well, okay, so I as an actor, I love challenging myself, and you realize that no one's going to give you opportunities. I was reading this. There's an article, I think it's by the Duplass brothers, and they were saying that the cavalry is not coming. You have to do things on your own, and so I think out of my frustrations of not, because I love singing, and no one ever said, hey, why don't you here's a record album, or, I was like, well, let me create that opportunity for myself. Let me create an opportunity to showcase the fact that I can speak different languages, and and I can write, and I can produce, and I can direct, and give other people opportunities as well. So, and I think for me, ultimately, it wasn't just about me. It was about the greater message. I remember when I was at this independent film festival, and this little 10-year-old white boy comes up to me and he's like, yours was my favorite after watching the film. And it touched me so much, because in my head as I was doing this film, I was doing it for that 10-year-old black boy who was me 20-something years ago, who didn't have that positive black role model to look up to and say, I want to be like that guy. And I realized this film transcends race. If it's whether you're a man or woman, child, it's just everyone relates to the strong message. And that's what art should be about. So
absolutely.
Let's talk about the business side of this a little bit.
Yes.
So right now you're competing for an Oscar, right? And so you have the film, and it's on a limited run. It's being forewalled at the Cineplex, I think. Yeah,
Arena Cine Lounge Theater in Hollywood. Yes.
Beautiful. Can you tell us more about that? It's right now.
It's right now. So please go to arenascreen.com, and you can see our showtimes for the next playing for the next 3 or 4 days. And so it's our Oscar qualifying run, and after this week, it makes us eligible to qualify for the Academy Awards.
Right.
So,
nice. Yes. I need to go right after this show and watch it, seriously.
So if you want to check out the full length, it's about 20 minutes.
It's 20 minutes. It's a 20-minute short film, and it's playing at Arena Cine Lounge. But you just go to arenascreen.com, and you can get tickets and the address and showtimes and whatnot. And then we're also playing at several other film festivals around the world. We'll next be playing at the Pembroke Tapparelli Film Festival in Hollywood. Okay. And I think they have a simultaneous festival in New York. And I can now also finally announce that we're screening at the Real Sisters of the Diaspora Film Festival on October 5th. So, and that's going to be in New York as well. Okay. So New Yorkers, go check out the film.
The Pembroke one is when?
That's in, I believe, October 9th. I have to double check, but if you go to pembroke.ptaff.org, I think you can find the
and you have a website for the film?
Yeah, so go to germankingmovie.com, or just follow us on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter at German King Movie.
Okay, great.
Beautiful.
So we can check you out and make sure that, you go and support.
Yes.
And go. And now the Cine Lounge is in Hollywood, right?
That's in Hollywood. It's 6464 Sunset Boulevard. It's on the first floor. So it's a beautiful theater. It's lovely. So yeah, please.
Is it right by the, we used to call it the Cinerama Dome, but the, it's on Vine, right? Right off of Vine?
It's before Vine. It's on Sunset and Cahuenga. Right, so just in that area. Exactly, it's right by Vine. That's exactly it.
Yes,
so
beautiful.
Definitely come check it out. It's the film's great, and we just want the audience to come see it.
Well, I've seen it before, but I'm going to come this week again. Yes, because I want to bring my mom. She didn't get a chance to see it, and my son and some other relatives, they didn't get to see it.
Fantastic.
It's a need to see. It's
powerful. The short is 20 minutes, and then you have the whole script written.
So we just finished the feature-length script, and that dives deeper into what happened with Rudolph Douala Bell and his friendship with the Kaiser. We talk about the male and female soldiers who were fighting in World War One. And and it's terrific. There's a lot of stuff in there that I can't wait to show you guys. It's good stuff.
I can't wait to see it.
So
exciting.
Thank you.
Is it possible for us to understand a projection of when that may be?
Well, if everything goes well, we want to start shooting by mid next year. So then hopefully we'll hit the theaters in 2021.
I want to talk a little bit about how did you finance even the short film? Because you used some locations and you had actors, and so did you use the, is it like one of the SAG ultra low budget? What did you do? How did you finance?
Well, so it was a 3-step financing project. We did an Indiegogo campaign. So it was a very public Indiegogo campaign. A lot of my friends and family and their friends and family members basically just said, yes, we love the story and let's contribute to the financing of it. And
so that's crowdfunding.
It's crowdfunding.
Yes.
It's crowdfunding. And I realized there were so many people who loved the story and wanted to get this, basically see this film made. So that was our first step. And then I had a financier who came on board who gave us gave us half of it. And then I financed part of it as well. So, yeah.
Great.
Beautiful.
And what about the next step?
The next step, we're looking for financiers as well. But we're also, so if anyone's interested in coming on board, we're saying yes. And also we've got a few people who are lined up who are going to invest in the film as well. So, yeah.
That's good. Very exciting. Exciting time.
So, I'd also like to talk to you about, because I'm an attorney, so I've represented people that have had films like this, and you can get grants, like from the Ford Foundation. There's different, the Weingart, there's different foundations, the Irvine Foundation, that they actually fund these type of things.
I will look into those. Thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Ms. Rhonda, I have a question for you. For people who feel like they do have a super powerful message that they also want to get out into the universe, what legalities may they come across in terms of making a short film that they would have to understand a little bit more on?
Well, he could probably tell you this too, being a producer, but a lot of people, you have to begin with the end in mind, because what happens is it's too hard to recreate those things. You have to have the proper contracts, or else you won't be able to get E&O insurance. You won't be able to distribute it, because you also need to make sure that if you wanted it to be a union film, then in the very beginning you need to go in and figure out what the budget is going to be. You need to do there's a WGA ultra low budget agreement, and so the agreement spells out what you need to do, how much you need to pay the actors every day. It spells everything out. I had a client who unfortunately did not start out that way, then wanted to backtrack and try to fix things that hadn't been done in the beginning. But it's like I said, begin with the end in sight.
Yes.
Always the first person you should have on your team is an attorney or someone that knows about this, so that you make sure the chain of title is extremely important. You make sure that you secure the rights and that you can show that those rights belong to you, so that you have to secure them properly, so that later on when you try to sell the product or distribute the product, because he's self-financing it, so he's in a greater position then, because he can do if he want. I mean, everything's being live streamed now, but if you wanted to get it into a theatrical release on a lot of times what they do, there's different ways to do that. You can four-wall it, or you can do something called a P&A deal, where you have a gross corridor where it's an 80-20. And they give you like $1 million or a couple million for the P&A, prints and advertising. But like I said, that was back in the day when we did a lot of deals, but it's starting to change because so much is digital.
What does four-wall mean?
That means to do like what he's doing now is actually rent out a theater, and you just rent the theater out and you play it yourself, so that you get that theatrical release.
I love how that seems like the best way to go in 2019. Just do it yourself.
Well, if you have a limited release like that, it also gives the foreign rights are more. It's going to give more value to the film, because you can say legitimately that it was released in the United States.
Yes.
You had a question?
Oh, I wish we would have known you about 2 years ago.
I wish you would have known me 20 years ago.
That would probably be even better. But I did my first independent film, and I learned a lot from it. But you are absolutely right. You know, having an attorney up front, having everything in order, versus doing it, getting everything out there, then having to go back and try to backtrack.
Yes.
But one of the things we did do was I wrote the film, directed, acted a little bit, and my wife played the leading role in it. But in the process of trying to get it into, you know, big theaters and everything, we just decided, hey, we're going to rent out the Veterans Memorial Auditorium in Culver City. We filmed it, you know, part of the film. And then we wound up actually getting it on PureFlix, which is like the Christian Netflix. We got it on there and a few other outlets. But it also allowed me to know that now it's a different day because of the streaming. You know, the digital streaming has opened up the platform to where if Hollywood doesn't let you in, you still have access.
The gatekeeper.
Yes, and I think that's the shift. So now they're actually trying to say, okay, how do we go digital, you know, to get that audience? Because they realize, like, the attention, what Netflix did, it changed the game.
But what they're trying to do, too, is they're trying to still corral that. Because at first, Netflix used to be very accessible. Now that Netflix has all the money, they're playing the studio game. They're starting to say, you've got to come through this production company to get to me. I'm not taking no calls. And that's exactly what the studios did. And that's how that nepotism started. And that's how we started having the same stories over and over and wondering, like, really? How many times can we do the Brady Bunch? Okay? And how many times? Why do we want to see that? You know? Let's have some creativity. Let's do something new. And at the same time that they were continually being safe, then people like Netflix and Hulu and all these other online platforms, you know, were not being safe. HBO wasn't being safe. They were drawing away their audience because they were being more edgy. They were giving something new. They were giving something that people hadn't seen before. And then, of course, because they had relaxed standards, they didn't have standards and practice breathing down their neck. They could show nudity. They could show different relationships of people and different things that we hadn't seen before, but we know happened. So, you know, it was a lot. It was a trade-off, and then they in the end they lost because I see the kind of the death of the big ABCs and NBCs. I know they don't want to hear that, but their model is done because I remember when I was little just waiting for the new season to open. And then, you know, there were 16 episodes. Now we do deals, 5 episodes. Same thing with record deals. They used to be firmly 7 years. You know why they were 7 years? Because of an anti-slavery statute that was instituted when they did indentured servitude at the beginning of this. It's actually a common law that comes from actually England, but they didn't want people to be in a contract for more than 7 years for personal services. And that was the term that you could be an indentured servant. And when people first came here as indentured servants, they were black and white. They were just anybody that wanted to come here. They wanted their passage here, and it was they gave up 7 years of labor in order to get passage on the boat to get here. But they started not honoring those contracts as far as the end of those contracts for black people.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely. They did a special about that too. But I really like this story that Ade has right now, and the fact that it's just amazing that you know, that's what you got to do. Like, that's what your wife was saying, what's for me is for me. Sometimes you just, you got to kill it before. You can't wait till it dies. You know what I mean? You got to make it happen. You got to eat what you kill. You know, you can't wait for somebody to open the door. You know, you have to open it yourself. And the great thing about the digital world is that you can do that. Because even the unions don't necessarily control that. So even if you don't, like it used to be, you had to do all these things to make sure you could have a theatrical release. You don't need to do that anymore.
That is beautiful. I had no understanding of that, and thank you for bringing that to us this evening. I want to know, actually, after you got your crowdfunding, did it make it a little, I guess I want to say, easier for another investor to come upon ship?
Yeah, I think just it created such a huge splash. And so a lot of people after that were like, I want in, and this is a story that we feel needs to be told. And so I guess so. And a lot of other people continued to say that they wanted to invest, and we said, well, we're holding off on that. And if they want to invest, invest in the feature-length film. But just so now we can all see more of the story. And
absolutely. And your crowdfunding mainly came from you telling like a background story, or
it was me doing a little pitch video in my room. And I was like, this is a good idea. I think everyone should see it, and it just took off, and I'm thankful that it did, and now people just want to see more. It was this is last year.
Last year?
I did all this about not even a year ago. The pitch video took off about 10 months ago, and within a month we got our financing. And about a week after that, I started shooting.
Wow.
And the film only released about 2 months ago. So all this is really brand new. It just took off, and thankfully it had legs, and people just seemed to have fallen in love with it. So
You knew it was going to have legs. Yes.
We're glad to be here on the ground floor, really hearing this success story, and we would love to hear more and follow more about it.
Yes, absolutely. As you continue to climb, we want to climb with you. For sure.
It's about everybody, right?
So how can we support you?
Just continue to follow us on German King Movie, GermanKingMovie.com, and also on our Instagram and Facebook pages, and just spread the word about the film, and let's get the feature-length film made.
One more time, can we understand where it is primarily playing?
So once again, it's playing at Arena Cine Lounge in Hollywood, and if you go to arenascreen.com, you can get tickets.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely.
And the address.
And the address is 6464 Sunset Boulevard, Arena Cine Lounge.
And the website?
And the website is arenascreen.com, and the website for my movie is GermanKingMovie.com. There we go.
Yes.
Got it in the end.
Yeah, can't wait.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
I'm so proud of you for going your own way.
Thank
for
you.
doing it your way and telling an amazing story that so many people, such a powerful message that so many people need to hear and truly understand so they can rise above within themselves and in society today. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
that. Thank you. And
the other thing, too, is that this is the only way you really get to tell your story without people getting involved, because the gatekeepers, if he had gotten money from a major studio, they would be there telling him what to say and how to tell the story, and they might not agree with him being so raw about, really exposing what the German Kaiser did and what happened in the Congo.
Yeah, what was amazing about doing this film and, writing, directing, and producing it, I got to tell my story, but also not just my story, the story that I felt, as Leopoldine had said, how it happened. And I didn't have to worry about portraying people in a negative light or catering to certain people. I got to just tell the truth. And sometimes when you do go the studio route, you have people breathing down your neck and saying, don't, for example, the film portrays the Germans not in a very positive light. We talk about the concentration camps that they had people in.
Yeah.
And this is something that everyone thinks, that happened during Nazi Germany. But this happened years before. You had a lot of Africans in concentration camps, a lot of Africans being killed and, castrated and whatnot. So we delve into the dark history that people do not want to see or hear. So
that's good.
But it needs
to be told.
And, that's always being sanitized out of the story because every time when they talk about 6 million Jewish people that got killed, they forget about the 11 million people were actually killed, and 5 million people were killed that were not of Jewish descent in those It was 11 million people that were killed in the concentration camps in Germany. And that was just in that instance alone.
Wow.
And over 2 million of those were black people.
Yeah.
Then there were people, most of them were people that either helped them, a lot of white people were killed too because they helped other Jewish people or helped other people, so they didn't, so they put them in the concentration camps. So it's, that's why we need to know our history and not have it sanitized, because then when we know that, we know it wasn't just against one person. It was a even more insidious evil.
Yes.
Yes, and when you put it on a platform such as how you're doing currently, this gets it more understanding to the youth who are going to also stand up and be able to recognize and understand and make that next movement for the challenge that's ahead.
Amen to that.
Yes. And we thank you so much. We thank you so much for being here with us today. Thank you for shedding your powerful message on us. I'm definitely about to go see what this is all about because I like I said, I want more. It's a very unique story that I need to understand and we all need to understand. So thank you. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you, Miss Rhonda, for coming through with all of your knowledge. Oh my gosh, thank you. You're such a blessing. Seriously, because we need to know these things as well. And if you have any contact information for us to know. Yes.
If you have any legal questions, You can call me at 323-244-5677. My email address is rdixonesq@gmail.com. I don't have a website right now, but I'm working on it.
Getting it together. And you, Pastor?
I'm Michael Pastor Barrett on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and they can also email me at pastormbarrett@gmail.com. And most importantly, they can come to Do Right Christian Church, 9815 South Vermont.
Yes, and this weekend will be
my installation service.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Congratulations.
And that's at Love and Unity in the city of Compton at 3 p.m., 1840 South Wilmington.
Absolutely.
Great.
And I'm Von True. I could be reached at von.true on Instagram or Facebook, vontrue.com, or vontrue00@gmail.com. I would love to thank 4 Point Media and Women of Prominence for allowing us to have this presented with you today. This is the culture of music and film, and we thank you for joining us. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Heaven must have known that this day would surely come along. Has some angels watching me to make sure that I